Hello and welcome back to my modded F125 series. We're here for round 12 at Monza, the home of Tifosi, obviously. So we've got obviously a big race ahead of us. Again, I'm not looking the best forward to it because again, our straight line speed's obviously not the best, but obviously we're trying to bounce back obviously to a good result this weekend. Obviously last time out at the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort, we had to defend against from two Ferraris. Obviously we know how to work around in defense section, but obviously this is a lot different compared to Zandvoort. Obviously it's a lot more open, a lot more straight, it's a lot more of overtaking chances, as you know, Zandvoort's a lot more narrow and tighter and more kind of more flowing, and Monza's still flowing in a way, but it's a lot more open, obviously opening for overtakes, etc. But obviously now we're coming on to our qualifying lap, trying to set a first good run, obviously trying to come down the main street ahead of us. People have already finishing the laps. We're trying to get a little bit tight in the way, actually. He's getting very close. Three of the cars actually getting way in close. See Bortoletto getting in the waistline. Can you see that actually he's obviously done his lap already? He's trying to like send me back out, and then he proceeds to just be in my waistline. Obviously again, if you just saw, a Mercedes was in that little trio there as well. So obviously I don't know what Mercedes have against me still, but I'm not sure what's going on. I think it was Russell, if I'm not mistaken, but obviously we have so much history again. I don't know what's important, but obviously now coming to the end of our final lap, obviously it's our first qualifying lap, so we're trying to set a decent first lap. We come across the line, coming out of parabolic, come across the line, it's going to be P9, which is actually, it's not too bad, you know. I thought it was going to be a little worse, but actually come back into the garage, it's going to be actually P16, but you see Pierre Gasly ahead of Max Verstappen, the Alpine at the fastest, which by 1,000th of a second at the moment ahead of Verstappen, but you see all the way us at the bottom in P18. So we are now struggling quite a lot. Again, I've made some few changes to what I can, obviously, because the park firme rules, etc. I can't change it a lot, but it's interesting to see an Alpine, actually one of the quickest cars around Monza, ahead of Max Verstappen in the Red Bull 4s. Again, that's some big stuff. Again, if you saw Isaac Hadjar in the Racing Bulls, the junior Red Bull team, in third place, actually he's not far behind. Again, this could be a massive jumbled up grid, obviously now at Monza. We see we're coming on our second qualifying, we know we need to improve quite a bit. Obviously coming through the second chicane, we're already up by nearly over 6.5 tenths. So obviously we've got some work to do now, coming through less than one, and then coming to less than two behind Behrman in the Haas. So we're trying to do a lot of time, trying to push the car to the absolute limit, to the edge. We see we are nearly on the grass, on the gravel. We're going to come down the straight, use the help of the slipstream from Behrman. Actually, it's going to help us quite a lot. I was going to come down, obviously come to over a second now, coming through Parabolica, and I'll come across the line. It's going to be well over half a second. It's nearly going to be a second and 3 steps. Coming across the line, it's going to be P16, which is really disappointing, actually, I must say. But you see Charles Leclerc on pole for Ferrari, for Tifosi, which is definitely a magical start already for the home hero, obviously Ferrari. That's what they want, but not what I wanted in P16. I thought I did a decent lap with nearly, just under a second and a half from my improvement. But again, everyone else must have literally propelled on the lap time as well. But that means we got a very important race, a very busy race, starting so far back. But if you saw Charles Leclerc title rival, Max Verstappen in P2, and Oscar Piastri a lot further down in P7, so he's got a lot of work to do. Obviously them three are the main people fighting for the title this year because no one else is really close to them. Lando Norris is a bit further behind, and George Russell, they've been messing about, whatever. But you see, on the strategy, I've opted to go for the hard to the medium strategy. I wanted to avoid the soft tags. Around here is definitely a little higher in tyre wear, which again I wanted to avoid, again obviously during past races like Monaco, Canada. I've just wanted to leave that tyre out because using it after a qualifying set, I know it's going to be really worn. But everyone around us, you see that actually everyone is on the medium tyre at the moment. So again, everyone going to a different strategy from the soft. So the soft obviously isn't the best tyre to go on, and the medium seems like the best tyre to go on. You see everyone else in front of us, going for the mediums, obviously again. So I think I made the right call going from hards to mediums, but that means I've got to make a big start ahead of this race. There are a few softs like you see, like Sainz and Albon ahead of us, our own teammate actually going on the softs, but it's going to be an interesting strategy to see what the softs are like during this race. But now we're coming to 5 red lights for the Italian Grand Prix at home of Ferrari. For final race, they've been hold a very long time. It's now we're going finally for this Italian Grand Prix. We get a decent start actually ahead of everyone else around us to get a decent start. We're trying to get alongside Behrman. Here's a little bit of a twitch, but we try and stay alongside, which we do. We try and go past him and our teammate, and now he's sending down massively down the inside, which we do. Thankfully, we go nearly into the side of George Russell. No love there lost between each other, as obviously it was maybe a little bit ambitious from my fault, but again, nothing too bad, no damage to either car. But you see that Sainz barely any drive out of that corner, out of the first chicane, and that's going to leave us, try and give us a run on George Russell. Makes it really tight, very Alonso and Sebastian Vettel-esque of 2012, as he squeezed all the way to the edge of the road. But then we set down the inside into the second chicane. We make the move sticking past him, which is really good for us. We see it now a little later on that lap, Esteban Ocon just ahead of us, actually making the move ahead of Kimi Antonelli. So he's seeing the Haas doing very well, getting past obviously Kimi Antonelli's his home Grand Prix so far. So you actually go back onto lap 2, the start of lap 2. You see actually there's a bit of a train form behind Kimi Antonelli, as you know. There's a bit of 5 of us now. You see actually the yellow flag now ahead of us, and it's going to be a massive engine failure. That's a point that I can't see. I don't know where to go. It's literally impossible. You see it actually now it's Kimi Antonelli with a massive engine issue, a massive engine gone bang and literally it was so bad I could not see. It was blinded. It actually held up both of the McLarens, and now that has been a massive advantage to us. So all the way up to P5, which is I needed a miracle, and that was something. Thank you, Kimi. But you see, goes to the replay. Here's a massive engine failure. Literally, it was so bad that I could not see what was going. I had to be really careful. You see, obviously from the replay how bad it was. I think it's one of the worst engine failures I've had on this game so far. Because look how bad. If you go on board with Ocon, look how bad. Like, you know, just the smoke and everything. It's so bad. Look on behind him. How you can't see the cars behind you. So that's really, really dangerous. But obviously, good of him to pull us to the side. We see on board with Lando Norris just how bad, how saturated obviously that smoke is. Because obviously in previous engine failures like Lawson at the Dutch Grand Prix, it wasn't nearly as bad. It was actually a bit misty. But you see that Lando Norris actually gets held up obviously by Kimi's engine failure. But actually he loses 5 positions. He just, I don't know, pulls the side. I don't know what obviously the AI are thinking, but he pulls aside and just gives up 5 positions like that, which is very odd. But you see obviously back on board that Gasly trying to make a move on Max Verstappen for actual P2, which is really good to see from an Alpine fighting against a Red Bull, which obviously we know the Red Bull's a lot more dominant than the Alpine, but trying to make it a tempo. He didn't quite make it move. But you see actually back on board further back, we see that Sainz, Tsunoda and Russell go 3 wide into the first chicane, which is a little bit of contact. Thankfully no damage it looks like, but going 3 wide into the first chicane is never a good sign, because it's one of the tightest plays on the circuit. We see actually Tsunoda actually stays ahead of Sainz and Russell, but again that's way too close for anyone's liking. I did not want to be involved in that, but thankfully I'm a little bit further ahead than these lot. But obviously going on to a little bit further on lap 2, if you look at the absolute gaps obviously from that engine failure from Kimi and that Charles absolutely stormed away from Max Verstappen. So he's got a big fighting chance obviously to win his home Grand Prix for Ferrari, and you see that Gasly actually might make a move on Verstappen obviously if he can, which would be really good for him. Now coming on to lap 3, on board back over us, you see we're trying to catch actually Esteban Ocon behind us. There's a lot of squad behind us. You see going on board with Carlos trying to pass Tsunoda, and he gets the move done. You see that actually a little bit further behind us that Norris trying to pass obviously George Russell, and a little further actually Hardtech Hatcher trying to get involved, trying to help out obviously the senior team of the Red Bull. We see a lot of battles going on behind us. Then move on to lap 4. Actually the move is not done from Norris and Russell, as Russell comes back at Norris trying to help with the DRS, coming down the main straight, trying to get past them. They're still side by side into the first chicane. They're still side by side, which again just not long ago there was 3 wide with Tsunoda. Now going 2 wide, it's still very close and tight. You see how the difference is. But see that Norris actually gets past Russell. Now we're back on board. We're actually catching Ocon now. It's nearly under a second now, so this is going to be really helpful for us to try and catch Ocon, try and make the move past us. Then after that, our plan is to actually get past Ocon, then try and catch Gasly and Verstappen if we can. I don't think if we're going to catch Leclerc at all. Obviously we don't have the car and the pace compared to them, like obviously compared to qualifying. Now coming through Parabolica, we're a lot closer this time, trying to use as much of the ERS we can on deployment, use it right at the perfect time. Across the line is going to be actually our pit box window at the end of the lap. So we're going to make the move on Esteban Ocon, which we do with the help of ERS and DRS, use the rest in the tank, trying to get past him, trying to go alongside him, trying to cover the line down, obviously down the braking zone, trying not to make him even a chance to get past us. But you see, coming on to the next lap, you see that Charles Leclerc actually wants to come into the pit, so he's changing the mediums onto the hards, as well as Max Verstappen and Gasly ahead of us. So he, as they go into hards as well, so their plan is to go on to the same tyre, but actually we're going to pit this lap, but we can do the opposite, go on to hards to mediums this time. So it's going to be a bit of difference, but obviously we've got Ocon right behind us, coming to the same pits as well. So it's battle of the pit stops in this phase. We're trying to get a good pit stop from the team, not a mistake like we did in Monaco, which cost us a podium. But no, thankfully we actually get a decent pit stop, which helps us. Obviously now come out of the pit stop, it's actually a free track. There'll be barely no one pitted. Actually Carlos Sainz pitted the lap before us. Actually he's trying to make an undercut on everyone now, trying to get a free track. You see that actually he's trying to is on the back of Ocon, so actually he's not too far back from us. So actually the undercut actually isn't a bad play, as we actually got over a 2-second gap on Ocon. That's good on us. Basically a replay back onto the pit stop phase. We're on board with Gasly, and see actually gets held up massively in the pits, obviously from Esteban Ocon, as we came in the pits at the same time as Ocon. He got held a long time, so that's going to be a really massive benefactor to us. Obviously we're trying to catch Gasly as much as we can. I see it a little bit behind us, see that Norris actually got the undercut from Sainz, so actually he's lost position to Sainz now. So obviously Sainz making it maybe a good call potentially, but we'll have to see, because he's on the medium tire, because he started on the soft, so his tire could go not as much life near the end of the race. But now obviously back on board, we're trying to catch obviously Gasly as much as we can. Obviously back behind us, but obviously Sainz is now caught Esteban Ocon, is going to come down obviously into the final main straight before we go into Parabolica. He makes the move stick track all the way round, which he does very nicely. It's a very good move from Carlos Sainz. You see that now back on board obviously with Esteban Ocon trying to make the move back on him, so he's not going to give us position so easily. It's actually that Ferrari engine versus Ferrari engine, and see actually he gets past him very, very greatly. So that Haas actually is not slow on the straights at all. That little Haas car is doing very, very well obviously against the mighty inferior of that Ferrari. Obviously at home, obviously got the home crowd obviously supporting the guy coming to back onto lap 10, and he's trying to go side by side into Parabolica. He gets to stay ahead of him just barely into Parabolica, to get very close between the Haas and the Ferrari. Ferrari of Ocon and Sainz. Now we'll go back to the main straight. It's going to be 3 wide almost as Piastri makes it 3 wide past Ocon. I try and go side by side past Sainz. And now it's going to be 3 wide coming into the first chicane. As Norris now comes side by side. It's going to be 3 wide into the first chicane yet again. It's getting very close between the two McLarens and the Ferrari. It's going to be barely any contact yet again. I don't know how these cars aren't making any, knocking any front wheel off each other, which obviously is going to help us massively. This is behind us. So he's going to gain nearly so many seconds behind us. It's now the job is still not done. But obviously Sainz has passed both of the McLaren states ahead of him. And they say that Norris is trying to get down the inside of his teammate of Piastri, which he does in the second chicane and makes the move sticks. Obviously, this is getting very tense behind us. This is going to help us massively coming back on board. Obviously, with only a few laps to go, Wesley can't catch Gasly as a little further behind. You see that Snowden, that's the fastest lap. A lot further behind in P10. Now back on board. Obviously, comes to the penultimate lap. Obviously, that Sainz and Norris are going side by side. And Norris is down the inside. He's behind him. Piastri trying to make a move on Russell as Russell got past Ocon now. See that Sainz and Norris are still not done with their move, and it's still side by side. Obviously, between two little battles on the screen, which I can't say who to stay on board with. But now we see Sainz and Norris side by side coming through. Obviously, through from the first sector, coming into the second sector, and still coming into side by side into the second chicane, which Sainz just stays ahead, just barely ahead of Norris. And see that Piastri stays ahead of Russell. So again, very, very tense behind us. So it's getting very tense behind you right now. But this is obviously going to aid us massively for us. As now on board, we're on the final lap where you see the boy from Monaco who grew up on the streets, wanted to be a Ferrari driver, and he's been the Ferrari driver for the last 7 years. He's achieved his goal with winning at Monza 2019, but now he's about to fulfill that dream once again. It's come through the final call for Parabolica to win the Italian Grand Prix. What a drive it's been from Charles Leclerc as he sets the fastest lap as we're on back on board with us, coming through the final corner as we come through to claim a very, very well deserved and a miracle of a P4, as something I wasn't even thinking at the start of this weekend, starting qualifying from P16. But what a Grand Prix, what a race it's been, filled with battles, and a hero for Ferrari of Leclerc winning the home Grand Prix for the Tifosi as a big dream for him. And now this is keeping his championship fight alight, obviously, with Verstappen closing that gap down even more, so he can challenge for that title with only just 4 more rounds to go of the championship. I think it's about 20 points now, the gap is to Verstappen, as he was on the podium with Pierre Gasly. A very well on form, great race from him here, as he actually had the pace. Like, he was actually ahead of Anthony before that incident even had with his engine. So actually he had a remarkable, actually well-deserved P3. Obviously he took out a win back in 2020 in the AlphaTauri, and now he's back on the podium here after such a long drought for him. And that is what a race it's been. So many stories, so much drama, so many battles. It's just great to see so much positivity come out of this race. You see it's confirmation of Leclerc winning his home race. We coming through P4, Carlos Sainz behind us in P5, ahead of both of the McLarens of Piastri and Norris and Russell, Yuki Tsunoda, and then Ocon dropping all the way down to P10. Obviously we'll find out around lap 6, obviously for P4, but unlucky for him. But obviously back on the driver's table now, you see that Verstappen is only 25 points ahead of Leclerc. Leclerc had a bigger gap only a few rounds ago. He's clawed that gap back so much further now. He's only 25 behind Verstappen, as Piastri's now got a bigger gap to Verstappen to 54. So he's got a lot of work to do with just 4 rounds to go. And obviously comes to the constructors, McLaren lose a bit of their gap to Ferrari, as obviously Leclerc winning and starts having a decent battle with them. But it's definitely getting a little close between both the championships. That's the interesting. We see for us now, it's actually another secret meeting again for Mercedes. This is definitely good, but obviously now I'm in a bit of a predicament where I'm not going to pursue as much, and I'll give my reasons. Because 1, reliability. This past season we've had 4 engines going bang and a very unreliable car just out of 12 races, which is really bad, and I don't want to follow. But also second, personally, because both their drivers have been coming at me. 1, Russell, very, very heated. He took me out in Spa, and many instances where he's really just a thorn in my side, and accidentally he's been not as bad, but they've both been, not so nice. I'm actually going to decline this, and I'm not going to pursue with Mercedes anymore, and I think it's very valid in my defense. But yeah, I've had a bit of a thought. Obviously it's the 3rd beating, but now I'm not going to follow through that. But guys, that has been round 12 of an amazing, manic Monza Grand Prix at Italy, and it's been probably one of the best of the season. I'll let you know what you guys think in the comments of the race and what you think of so far. But I hope you guys have enjoyed, and it's nearly the new year in just a few days, and I hope you have a great new year. I might upload one more before the new year, but we'll see. But I hope you guys see the next one. Peace.